Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing the junior women's event at JGP Slovakia. So this was an exciting competition because it was the first competition that we were seeing the Russian skaters on an international stage due to quarantine restrictions and their vaccine not being recognized by France. So this was the first time that we were seeing them this season internationally. Because there were no Russian skaters in the first two JGP events, we're going to be seeing large numbers of Russian competitors in the next few events, which is why in the women's event here, there were actually 4 Russian ladies duking it out. So Veronika Zhilina won the competition. I feel like diehard skating fans have been waiting for her to go on the JGP since she first appeared on Ice Age a few years ago. Ice Age is a popular skating show in Russia, and when she appeared on it, she was still with Ateri. And then in 2020, she was a part of the Great Migration and followed Rozanov, Trusova, and Kostoranaya to Angels of Plashenko. She's still with Plashenko, and her mother also coaches her. She is one of the most athletic, talented skaters in the world. She has a triple axel, quad Salchow, quad toe loop, and quad Lutz, and she was able to master these jumps over the past few years, so when she was 11, 12, and she's currently 13. And there were also rumors of her attempting quad flips in practice at this event. She had a really rough season last year. She ended up 12th at 2020 Russian Junior Nationals, and many attributed this result to Plashenko mismanaging her or her mother coaching her, which is one thing that Ateri has no patience for. She really does not allow parents to be involved in their children's skating careers, and it seems like at Angels of Plashenko, that is not as much of an issue. She also said in an interview a few years ago that she is her own favorite skater, and honestly, that is the confidence that we should all aspire to have. So her short program is a little bit of a hot mess, but honestly, I am ashamed to admit that it is becoming a guilty pleasure program for me. Yes, it is very inappropriate. It is quite disturbing to see a 13-year-old skating to lyrics that say, "You don't own me, I'm not just one of your many toys." And yes, the dress is very literal. It literally says "Daddy's Little Monster" on the front, and there's a picture of the Joker on the back. Thus, you can conclude Veronika is portraying Harley Quinn. And yes, there are a lot of voiceovers. There's an explosion, humming, speaking, a gunshot, but the footwork is really fun. Veronika really performs during it, and she's not the most animated or expressive skater. This was probably the most expressive that I've ever seen her, and if it takes this type of music and this type of choreographed expressions to help her break out of her shell, I think it's a great start for her. The footwork is iconic. I love that part where she stomps forward and she's pointing at all of the judges. I noticed that there was no triple axel in the short like there was in the test skates, so I think they were just trying to play it safe. Her program component score should really not have been as close to Sofia's as it was. In her long program, I think the program is nice. It is sort of forgettable to me, maybe because she was so focused on landing her quads. But it was overall a very impressive performance. We had really fast, flexible spins. She attempted and landed 3 quads, even though one of them was called on the quarter. Again, she was more expressive once her footwork began, but that was really the only part of the program that I saw her listening to the music and trying to perform to it. I'm curious if you all compare her to Trusova when she skates. She's similar to Trusova in that they're both trying quads in their JGP debut, and that they're known for their quads and explosive jumps. But her spins are overall faster and more flexible than Sasha's were at her age. Her crossovers are better than Sasha's, and she has mastered more quads at a younger age. Last season, Veronika really struggled with her nerves, so hopefully this competition marks an improvement in that area and she holds it together in future competitions. In second place was Sofia Muravieva, Zhilina's teammate, who also skates at Angels of Plashenko. When I first saw Sofia at 2020 test skates, I wasn't super impressed with her. The jumps seemed scrappy, and I wasn't a huge fan of her programs. But I have to say, I think she's one of the most improved Russian juniors that I've seen. It seems like she's really worked on her air position and her jumps seem bigger with a lot more flow. And she really had a standout performance at Russian Junior Nationals this past year. She beat Sofia Samodolkina, Sofia Akatieva, and Adeliia Petrosian in the short program with this same program. And so I think that was foreshadowing for this season. I think she is one of the top Russian juniors, and this performance really solidified that. So she skated to No Me Quito Pa for her short program. And I will say it's a pretty heavy song to skate to. For those who are not familiar with the song, the singer Brel, he sings about his mistress who threw him out of her life. His mistress later becomes pregnant with his child, but when he refuses to acknowledge the child as his own, his mistress later has an abortion. So this song is very mature and has a lot of adult themes, so it was strange to see a teenager skate to it, and I don't think it was the most appropriate selection to skate to. But she did really sell the program, and the judges seemed to agree as well. At times, I found the choreography a bit rushed, a bit flaily, and I'm not sure if this program deserves to exceed Isabeau's score from last weekend. However, I do know that Veronika does not deserve higher program components than Isabeau, but with Sofia, I'm on the fence. I'm not sure. For her long program, she skated to music from The Great Gatsby, and at the beginning, there were voiceovers from Leonardo DiCaprio, which actually did not bother me that much. But what bothered me was the gunshot at the very end of the program. It was just a very abrupt ending. But I really adore the second half of that program, and I am willing to overlook the gunshot because I really enjoyed Sofia's performance. I noticed she didn't go for the quad Saukow. She was trying to play it safe, which I think was smart. And I think what Ted Barton said at the end of her program, that she moves a little more, she feels a little more than the other skaters, is true. I think she's quickly becoming my favorite Russian junior, and her artistry and expressiveness and the way she completely and totally embodies the music really differentiates her from all of the other Russian skaters. So in third place was Adeliia Petrosian, an Atari skater. When I first saw her, she was a novice. This was 2 seasons ago, and I remember that people thought she reminded them of Yevgenia. I remember thinking that she was a really great expressive performer. So her taking the bronze here was actually the first time since 2019 when a non-Atari Russian skater won a JGP. At the 2019 event, it was Ksenia Sinitsina. And I'm wondering if the era of Team Tutberidze dominance is over, at least for junior women. Plushenko and Davidov have a lot of talented skaters coming up who we'll be seeing in the next few weeks. Davidov actually had more junior skaters at test skates than Atari, and recently Zanina, an Angels of Plushenko skater, won a major competition, Moscow Championships. Especially with Atari focused on Tarasova and Morozov and her 6 Olympic-eligible senior women, I'm wondering if this will lead to a slight decline in her junior women this season. So I was really, really impressed by her short program. This was the first time that I've seen Adeliia perform on a high-definition live stream, and it really emphasized what a performer she is. She showed a lot of attention to detail. She always placed her head, her eyes, her body very intentionally, depending on the notes in the music. And she kept her face trained on the judges, which really stood out to me because a few of the other skaters don't really look at the judges. They're looking at the ice, or they're stone-faced and not really focusing in that direction. But I will say that her jumps scare me a little bit. They felt very forced and eked out at times, especially with that power pole. They work for her for now, but I am a little nervous about her future. So in the long, it was the battle of the Paint It Black programs. She skated right after Maria, who also skated to Paint It Black. And I actually thought that Paint It Black fits Maria's skating style more, but Adeliia performed it better and had slightly better choreography. I do wish she went back to her old long program from last season. She skated to a piece of Armenian music, and she really lit up and was a very animated skater to that. I'm not sure if the Billie Eilish or the Paint It Black shows Adelia's best qualities as a skater. Adeliia actually had a piece of choreography that had her laying on the ice and falling over at the start of her program, which, as someone pointed out, would be considered a deduction. So I noticed that they took that part of the program and placed it at the end of the program, and I was a bit flummoxed as to why that was not considered a deduction. She did have the fastest spins in the competition. I love her back catch foot spin. And she did land a quad toe, though it was called on the quarter. Not sure if the technique will last once she starts to grow, but I thought she had a solid showing here. In fourth place was Maria Zakharova. And it's so funny because I remember after test skates, all of the skaters took pictures with her coaches, and I was thinking that she and her coach looked eerily similar, and her coach is actually her mom, so makes sense. I found her skating overall to be consistent, solid, really nice jumps. Spins could be worked on a bit. I found the short a little bit boring, but in her long, I thought Paint It Black worked for her really well. I just wish she had more choreography and performed a little bit better to it. In fifth place was Chaeyeon Kim. She competed last week and had clean programs there. This week had clean programs as well, which shows that she's very trained and mentally tough. Every element was well performed and well executed. I love the landing on her combination jump in the short program, but overall I do think she needs to work on her performance and execution, as well as her expressiveness. She is quite stoic in the short program, which works for the music, but I think in the long, with the drums and the dynamic nature of it, she really needs to come out of her shell. And we did see that a little bit in the opening choreography as well as during the footwork, but I would love to see her give a little bit more. And I do think she was underscored, especially in the short program. I don't think there should have been a 4-point difference between her and Maria. Looking at the protocols, her flip had an unclear edge, and her combination was not in the second half, but I don't think Maria deserved to be 2 points higher than her in the program component score. In sixth place was Ava Ziegler. She definitely came in as the dark horse. She wasn't really on my radar. She placed fourth at the 2021 US Junior Nationals this past year, and she has really explosive jumps. They're slightly out of control, and I hope she's able to get a triple-triple soon, and that would definitely push her into that top echelon of junior ladies in the US. She skated the best she possibly could. She was in that final warm-up group for the long, and she held it together and had a clean program. In seventh place was Mia Kalin, also from the US. She became the first American woman to land a quad toe loop in international competition, which is a huge achievement. Unfortunately, the second quad in her long was downgraded. But despite having a quad toe loop, I think this competition really showed Mia and her coach that she needs to improve everything else. Her spins, speed, quality of the jumps. After her long program, the judges were reviewing every single jump that she did, so she really needs to clean those up. They looked a little tilted in the air, shaky, a bit whippy, and her spins were definitely slower than I remember, so she should definitely work on those because she's leaving points on the table. And I can tell that she's worked a lot on her artistry, especially in the short program. She was hitting more of the notes, but she still has a lot of room for improvement. In eighth place was Kimmy Repond from Switzerland. It was her JGP debut, and she had a pretty decent outing. She comes off as a very consistent skater. She skated 2 clean programs. She has nice presentation, and she has a lot of potential. I actually thought she was lowballed in PCS in the short program, and I think her being from a small federation factored into that, and that was unfortunate to see. Her jumps are also very small, which is a bit concerning. I know she received some under rotations, so that's something that she should definitely work on. She skated to a warhorse in the long exogenesis, but I did appreciate her kind of changing it up and using a different piece of the music for the second half of the program. And if Alexia Paganini continues to skate after the Olympics, I'm excited to see them battle it out. A few honorable mentions. I wanted to say that I really enjoyed Vivian Papp's performances here. She skated the best she possibly could have skated. She has lovely interpretation of the music, looks like she genuinely enjoys skating, and I loved her Jaiho short program. I know this video covers women, but a quick shout out to Jae-kun Lee from South Korea in the men's event. I loved his skating. I'm very excited to see him improve and develop over these next few years. I think he is a star in the making.
Whatever, I don't give a. Do I look like I can? Because I don't.
Overall, I thought this was an exciting competition, especially with that final group. We saw a few quads in this event, which is always fun to see. In terms of the scoring, I think Veronika's PCS were a little bit too high here, and I do agree with the rankings, although I would have flipped Maria and Chaeyeon. We still don't know how the ISU will determine who qualifies for the JGP final, but if they do determine this based off of top scores, these are the top 10 scores so far, with 3 JGP events having been completed. Also, if the DJ for future JGP events is watching this, please, please, please do not play bad covers and ballads during the warm-up music. I beg of you.
No Russian skaters there because of the quarantine problems. They're back on track here for the event, of course, as we go to Krasnoyarsk.
So that was my recap of this week's JGP. If you like this video and want to see more recap videos, please like and subscribe, and feel free to follow me on Instagram, SkatingStan. Thanks, see you in the next video.